I was actually quite ill all the way through the pregnancy, not just with sickness, but I had lots of infections and really not very well. And I knew for quite a while that things weren't right. I don't know if I dreamed about it. I don't think I did. It was just there in my head the whole time. I just knew that something was going to be very wrong. I actually visualised what Lucy was going to look like. And to me, the best way I can put it was I thought it should look like something from outer space. Now, if I'd have told anybody that, they probably thought I was crazy. And then when she was born, she was exactly as I'd seen her. That is just the strangest thing to imagine, because how could anybody imagine a child looking the way Lucy did?
I saw Lucy before Jan did. Everybody went quiet. There was just a hush, and that's when Jan said, "Is there something wrong with my baby?"
As they lifted her out, you could have dropped a needle on the floor and heard it. I just sort of said, "What's wrong, what's wrong?" And they said there's something wrong with her skin. So they wrapped her up and showed her to me and Clive and then took her off to special care.
A first reaction, oh my God, what have we done?
Clive and Jan's daughter Lucy was born with Harlequin Ichthyosis, an incurable condition which causes the body to produce too much skin, a life sentence for both sufferer and family alike.
Harlequin ichthyosis is one of the most rare type. It is a severe expression of abnormal skin and has a high mortality. The whole body is completely encased in this very, very thickened, scaly, hard suit of armour, and it causes tightness, so there is restriction of movement of the arms and legs, and in particular the fingers and toes. The face is very deformed, the eyelids are everted, ears are bound down, and the mouth is very tight because of the tight skin around it. It can be a very scary sight and a very worrying sight, particularly for parents.
Immediately loved her right from the word go. The fact that she looked the way she did didn't change how we felt.
All Jan wanted to do when the baby was born, when Lucy was born, was actually be with her, to hold her and to do mum things with her.
She was our little girl and we'd fight for her whatever.
It wasn't long before we saw through the skin and we could see what was underneath it. It didn't take long. But that first initial shock was a bit of a tug to the old heartstrings.
Lucy!
Lucy is now 17. She's the oldest Harlequin sufferer surviving in Britain.
One time in school, someone just started this rumour going around that I was going to die when I was 16. I don't know where that came from, because my friend told me that she'd heard it from someone, and she'd asked me if it was true, and I said, no, not as far as I know.
Her survival is down to a life-saving ritual of scrubbing and bathing. Every morning, Lucy's mother Jan gets her up at 4:30.
I would just love to be able to just get up at like 7:45, like most people do. Someone was moaning the other day that they got up at 7 and that, and I was thinking, well, I got up at 4:30, and I didn't say anything. I just sat there and fought it.
Despite the punishing regime, Jan and Clive decided to try for a second child. The chances of having another child with Harlequins was exactly 1 in 4.
To have a second child wasn't entirely my decision. I wasn't happy having a second child. Once Lucy was born with her problems, Jan wanted to give me a child who was perfect.
I wanted Clive to have that and experience holding a new-born baby with soft, lovely skin. Clive was very unsure about whether he wanted another one, and I'm afraid it probably was, well, I know it was my persuasion that we had a second one.
So reluctantly I agreed to have a second child, and we have Hannah.
Angie, come on, sweetheart. Oh,
when Hannah was born, that was, the confirmation of the skin condition reappearing again, because except for a couple of little bits and pieces there, just like going back 2 years.
Hannah was born with added complications. She has cerebral palsy and is small for her age.
Clive felt very sad, and obviously he must have been angry as well. At the time he used to do karate, and I know he just came and thumped hell out of the punch bag to get rid of the frustrations.
Took my knuckles down to raw blood, and I was very angry.
I think if he'd had his choice, we probably wouldn't have had a second one. But having said that, Hannah is the apple of his eye. So hopefully, well, not hopefully, we did do the right thing, I think.
I've never had any difficulty accepting any child at all. I'm certainly not having any difficulties accepting Lucy or Hannah. They're my daughters.
Overnight, Lucy and Hannah grow as much skin as a normal body would in 14 days. Every morning and every night, they have to bathe for up to 2 hours. The top layers of excess skin have to be rubbed off and softened to prevent it cracking and causing infection. This painful process began at birth.
The night sister was amazing, and we actually used to have competitions to see who could peel off the most skin. Sounds quite sort of, but it was a way of getting through it. During the day I'd be doing it, and I would still go through at night, but they insisted that I rest. She'd come through in the morning and say, look what I've taken off, and when she came on at night I'd say, oh, I've beaten you, this is how much skin I've got off.
Be careful. Right, Lucy?
You've got loads of skin today.
Ow.
Sorry, sweetie.
That's right.
Try and avoid the sore bit. Yes, I'm sorry, sweetie, but there's so much skin. Oh, sorry, sweetie, I'm sorry. When Hannah was born, it was really difficult, with Lucy only being very small and young as well. It was a case of doing one and then doing the other one. It was incredibly hard work. Now, there are some parts of it that are easier, but there are big, large areas to scrub. So from that point of view, it's hard. And also from my point of view, I'm getting a lot older. And also because I've got arthritis now, it makes it quite difficult. By doing it every day, it stops your skin being so tight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If we leave it, you get very tight and you get loads and loads of skin flaking off, don't you? And in this way, it keeps you more comfortable.
Yeah. There was some skin on there I tried to peel off on the top.
On the top, yeah, that's a bit more difficult to peel, isn't it?
Oh, she's...
Try and keep
It's sore.
all right. I know you don't.
Ouch. Let me sort now.
All right, so keep still.
Oh.
All right. Shh. All right,
I'm sorry.
I know. Sometimes, I mean, if the skin is particularly bad, I mean, we've sat and cried together, haven't we? Sometimes when it's really, really sore.
Is that sore
And
then?
we both get upset when Lucy cries, don't we? Because
I did today.
you did today when she cried, didn't you? Yes.
That's why I don't like being in here.
I know you prefer to be out of the way, don't you, when she's getting scrubbed?
Yeah.
In the early days, I used to scrub the girls and cream them and, get them dressed. And we had scaffolders around, and I was doing Lucy and Hannah, and Lucy was crying, oh, Daddy, don't, please, Daddy, don't. And I said to Jan, go out and tell them scaffolders, I'm not hurting my daughter, that's just what they have to do. And that, to me, was one of the last times I'd done it.
Oh, a big smile on your face says, wave, yeah.
Throughout their childhood, Jan has had to bathe and scrub Lucy and Hannah every day. The skin is the largest organ in the body and a barrier to infection. The scrubbing and creaming is what's kept the girls alive.
Right, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the finished object.
Cherry chop.
It's only now they're older that they can take responsibility for their own creaming.
Do you have to do this every day, Hannah?
Yeah. It's good fun sometimes. It is.
Does it make you feel better?
Yeah. It does make me feel better.
Hannah and Lucy use one 12-kilo tub of cream between them every 5 days.
I always wonder, I'm like, how come me and Lisa always, why did we have to be the ones with poorly skin? I'm always wondering that. I never asked Mum, but I always wonder that. It's in the mornings, in the afternoons, and just before we go to bed.
I can remember when she was small one Christmas, we asked her what she wanted for Christmas, and she said normal skin, which was incredibly heartbreaking because I couldn't do it for her.
I'm glad that Lisa's got the same condition as me, because otherwise if she didn't, I'd be all alone and left out. Or she'd be all alone and left out.
Your hand's just very dry again.
I know.
Lucy has had to learn how to cope with being different. Her condition has also affected her sight, leaving her blind in one eye and with only 10% vision in the other. Despite this, she's managed to attend mainstream school and passed 11 GCSEs.
Whether you're going to go uptown or whether you're coming straight home or whatever.
Okay.
Right, so have a lovely day, enjoy, even if it's college.
See you later.
She's now in her final year at college.
If I'm there at college all day, I'll put cream on like my face and hands all day, and then at lunchtime I'll go and get changed, like change my clothes completely. Then like, I'll cream like my face and hands and that in the afternoon, and then when I finish college I'll go home. I should get creamed and changed again, and then like watch telly, do college work, or go out on my bike or whatever. I tend to get ready for bed 8:30 really early and sit upstairs in my room and that and go to sleep about 10, 10:30. And then my mum wakes me up when she goes to bed to cream again. I cream under all my clothes again, and then I get up again in the morning. Here are the cops of London town, hard-working, brave and true.
At the moment, Lucy's studying childcare. She hopes to be a play assistant.
Can you find the telephone?
She's on her 2-day work placement, working with special needs children.
One little girl says to me all the time that I've got grease and oil, and I'm like, no, it's cream. And another little girl, she says, Lucy, you'll be white, won't you, next year? And so I just say yes, because I think if I say no, she gets upset and gets upset that I won't get better. Finished now? Yeah. Finished?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Betts family live in Bradwell, near Great Yarmouth. Their 2 daughters have an incurable skin disorder. Caring for them occupies Mum Jan's every waking moment. Her day starts at 4:30, bathing and creaming the 2 girls. The lotion they use means all clothing and bedding must be laundered daily.
I strip the girls' beds off, stripping all the sheets, what pillowcases need to come off, and then they all go in the pink bags that we get provided with. I hate Monday mornings because it's rubbish day as well, so I've got all the rubbish to sort, and then the sheet man comes, as I call him, because I get delivered sheets via the hospital through social services.
Social services also provide a carer for 9 hours a week to help with the girls, but the housework is left to Jan.
A case of making them up again, which is 2 drawer sheets, a bottom sheet, pillows, and a top sheet, and that's on each bed. And I do that every single day.
Oh, Hannah, look.
Oh, wow.
Lucy and Hannah are 2 of only 7 Harlequin sufferers in the UK. Being so unusual makes living an ordinary life difficult.
No, it's got a clown on it.
I like to go shopping. It's my favourite thing. I like to go cinema. I tend to take my niece and nephew, Hannah, to the cinema. You can kiss me, you can hold me, but if you touch me, my hair, I will kill you. And I go into Yarmouth because there's a lot of holiday makers, so I get a lot of people staring at me.
I know.
When I was at a shop once with my friends, this woman came in and she just suddenly said, "Does your skin hurt?" And I said yes. And then she said, "Oh, it hurts when you get sunburnt." because that happened to me last summer. Another woman came in with a child, and the child went, "Oh, look at her," and this woman again just turned around and said, "Oh, she's got sunburn," and my friend just turned around and said, "She ain't got sunburn, she's got something wrong with her skin." And she's like, "Oh yes," and then I went into the toilet and I could hear my friend, and they were talking about sunburn, and I heard my friend just yell at her, and she just was like, "She hasn't got sunburn," she just yelled at her, and it was really funny.
I like that.
Yeah.
I just don't like the label because they scratch me.
Hannah is coming a lot more aware now. She is realising that she is different to other people.
Yeah.
I told her the story that I used to think that I'd get better, and she's like, "But aren't we going to get better?" And I had to sit there and explain to Hannah, no, we're not getting better, and that confused her a little bit.
Oh, I like the fluffy. Yeah, I like that. If I'm out somewhere, sometimes there's some other children, they stare, you see. It's alright if it was like little children, but big children shouldn't stare. I like it. They always go, "Oh look, there's a red girl there."
A free smell of Brittany's new perfume.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Why have they got holes in? It's no good.
They're
Can't
pretend holes, Hannah.
Pretend?
Yes, Hannah, they're pretend holes.
They really have got holes in there,
Hannah.
haven't they? We didn't like that.
Lucy and Hannah's condition is inherited. It's only triggered when both parents have the same defective gene. The chances of that happening are 1 in a million. The girls have only ever met one other Harlequin in their lives.
We had a phone call one day from somebody who'd given birth to a family in Royston who'd given birth to a little girl.
And that little girl was Dana Bowen. She's 8 now.
Dum-de-dum-de-dum. I came out like this. I don't know why. And I was really poorly. And I had to stay in an incubator, I think. Well, in a special bed for babies.
When she was born, I was gutted. She looked very odd. Obviously, I tried to follow all the procedures when you're first pregnant of not doing this, not doing that, eating the right things and stuff, and I was like, okay, well, what's happened? Where have I gone wrong?
One of the ways of describing it that one of the doctors has used is the word grotesque. And to be honest, in some ways it is actually quite fitting. Although no one wants to think of their cuddly pink little baby as grotesque, but in some ways she was. I mean, her skin was extremely thick across the chest and stomach. It was split. The eyelids were inverted. The mouth was very wide. It actually looked like she had no ears because they were actually skinned over. Her hands and feet were clawed. It did look very, very serious, and it was.
We literally saw Dana for a couple of minutes, and then they whisked her away to the neonatal unit, and then Dana was blue lighted the next day up to Great Ormond Street.
Because there's a 1 in 4 chance of any child Sam and I have of having Harlequin Ichthyosis, I think we thought, quite a few years ago that yes, we would like a second child, but we wouldn't try for a second child until Dana was at an age where she could do some of her own skincare and where Sam wouldn't be left with 2 babies. So it was only sort of when Dana was 7 that we thought, okay, it's time to maybe have another one and roll the dice.
I think in your heart of hearts you do think, oh please let it be okay, not have the condition again. But like I said to Clive, it was a risk we were going to take. Obviously at the end of the day they're our girls and love them to bits no matter what.
So we'll do the facial views first. Okay. So we can pop the bib and we can remove the clothing down.
Today, the Bowens are in Great Ormond Street having medical photos taken. From the moment the girls were born, they've lived their life under the microscope.
You stand next to me.
The condition is so rare that doctors don't get to see real-life case studies very often.
If you call Laura's name.
Laura.
Laura. That's great.
It's interesting because Harlequin babies are very different. One from the other is very, very different. But these two are uncannily similar.
Dr. Atherton has followed the children's progress since birth, and because it's incurable, he will continue to monitor them throughout their life.
What changes from day to day?
Everything.
The amount of flakiness, the redness?
Yeah, the redness can change, yeah.
Most children with this Harlequin Ichthyosis die within a few days of birth. The first kind of big problem that it causes is massive fluid loss. I mean, our skin, the main purpose of skin is to keep liquid in the body. So many of them actually, in the past, died of renal failure in infancy. And that is part of the purpose of applying oil to the skin. Infection is another issue because just as this skin is not able to keep water in, it is not able to keep bacteria out. And it's very, very easy for bacteria to gain entry through the skin. Can I just see your hands before I know you're not winning? Dana was unfortunate because the skin on her fingers and toes was extremely tight early on, and the tightness of the skin interfered with the flow of blood, so she's lost several of the tips of her fingers.
Don't you to school?
The disease that Dana and her sister have is an extremely rare one, and there are very few survivors. I suppose it's fair to say that we don't exactly know what the future will throw up in terms of problems for them.
I used to think a long way ahead before Dana was born. Everything was mapped out, even down to my retirement. Now Sam will tell you I'm lucky if I think a week ahead. We almost live for the moment. Every day's a bonus. I do master it. I do still think about the future, and the more I think about it, the more difficult it will be.
From birth, the risk of infection and complication never leaves these children. Over the last year, Hannah's health has been a constant worry. She's physically exhausted, has lost her appetite, and has had a seizure.
This last year has been extremely hard because there's been lots of times when I actually haven't known myself how to deal with Hannah. She kept complaining every so often of heavy hands and heavy feet, and we put it down to the way she was laying or because of the cerebral palsy. And she really was struggling she just wasn't our Hannah. And that came to a head when she had the seizure.
I can remember doing that with my arms and that with my legs like that. Or like that, however I had them crossed, and I was really stiff. I was in the bath at that point. My mum couldn't dress me. She had to phone for the ambulance, and then I went straight up to James Paget Hospital.
Even now, if she has signs of having a seizure, her chest feels like it did before, or her hands are heavy. She starts worrying and panicking with inside. You can tell. Hannah very much wears her heart on her sleeve, and you can always tell when something's bothering her and something's upset her.
Tonight, Hannah's in Great Ormond Street. Tests at her local hospital showed that the seizure and her tiredness are due to her gut leaking vital minerals. Further tests will be done to see if the problem is linked to her skin condition.
Okay, here she be.
You have to hold it for me. Hello, Daddy. Yeah, I've got a thing on my hand. Yeah. You're not going to come all the way to London just to bite my toes.
She's had quite a few major setbacks, but has come out through them remarkably well.
I love you.
It's just this time, this has been a long time. She's not been my Hannah for ages, so we're hoping that maybe, this will all result in getting my little girl back. All right, love you. All right, bye.
Bye, Daddy. He's in the bath.
Yes, I know. The mattress got stuck, Hannah.
That's a funny bed. I feel a bit nervous, but I just can't really wait, because I'll be able to find out what's wrong with me.
Give us a kiss then, and then I'll do my bed.
Yeah.
Love you. Okay, if I turn that one off and leave that one.
Yeah.
For them, so Mummy can see. I'm here, sweetheart. Don't worry.
Hannah Betts is at Great Ormond Street Hospital for a week of tests. She's been unwell for the last 12 months, and doctors are trying to find out why.
What do you want?
Dr. Lindley is Hannah's consultant.
Hannah's clearly very unusual even for a hospital like this, though clearly we have investigated large numbers of children with other ichthyosiform. So I think one has to go into this with an open mind, knowing that we might turn up a complication of Harlequin ichthyosis, or indeed we might find a problem with another gene, perhaps adjacent to or linked to Harlequin ichthyosis.
They're going to do a gastroscopy and a colonoscopy, which is a case of going up through her bottom into the bowel that way and down through her mouth to have a look in her tummy and the bowel. And then we'll do some biopsies as well.
In the next 5 days, Hannah will be seen by numerous experts. As well as the problem with her gut, she's failing to grow properly. More tests will be done to detect why.
I think this time we may get some answers because they're getting so many people to see her from every field. It's the most that's ever been sort of looked into, so it's all very encouraging.
Hannah and her mum now have to wait until the results of all the tests come back. This could take a few months. In a family with Harlequin children, the life-saving skincare regime dominates everyday life. Sam has no help with the children, and the prospect of a family holiday is daunting. The family choose to stay close to home. Sam's day starts at 6, with Dana soaking in a special bath lotion.
Dana's in the bath for at least half an hour. Then we get her washed, hair washed, out of the bath. Then she's creamed, dressed, hair dried, eye drops, and then she goes off to school.
When Lara came along, Clive changed his job in order to be around as much as possible. Sam had already given up work.
We used to work on a thoroughbred stud farm. Used to do the mares and foals. It being a dirty job, I had to give up. People move on and have families. It's just our family's a bit different.
After baby Lara has been bathed and creamed, Sam has to hoover the entire house. This has to be done every day, sometimes twice a day, because of the girl's skin flaking.
We have 2 separate washing machines, one for Clive's clothes and mine. I have 2 to 3 loads a day of just theirs. My washing machine needs its pump done quite regularly, and the door sill is wrecked. The amount of cream, it's disgusting.
When Dana gets back from school, the creaming cycle starts again.
Bring Dana home from school, cream Dana up and redress her, sort our tea out, and then after tea it's run the baths. Dana's soaking while I bath Lara, and then I do Lara, cream Lara, dress, ready for bed. And then I redo the girls again about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. They both get creamed. Dana might have another drink then, but Lara definitely has another bottle before she's settled for the night, ready for 6:30 again. Good night then. See you later.
In an effort to keep Dana's life as ordinary as possible, the Bowen sent her to a mainstream school.
We've never kept anything secret from Dana. She understands about her skin condition. We try not to go on about it too much to her, but be blunt and just honest. You're different, you've got a skin condition, but a lot of other people have got other things wrong, like deaf or blind. You're special, but you're special to us, and these other people are special to their families.
Colour this bit as well. No, let's colour that bit because it takes more longer.
With disfigurement, I mean, a huge amount depends on the child's personality. Some children are just better able to cope than others. For the families, it depends really on them treating the child absolutely as normal. I think their main problems are aesthetic, coping with the appearance of their skin, the impact that has on other people, and of course one would anticipate that that will be a very particular problem during adolescence.
And Dana's biggest challenge, I guess, is being accepted by other people. Children generally aren't a problem because they're so honest. They'll just walk up and say, "What's the matter with you? Why's your face red?" And she'll just say, "I've got poorly skin," and that's it, they'll go off and play together. But she's now starting to notice that adults are staring, whispering, and I think I've just told her to ignore them or just stick the tongue out.
We should have got a bike that goes like that, or a car that goes like that.
Lucy and Hannah have survived and even thrived despite the odds. Today, Lucy's taking part in a 10-mile charity bike ride. But it's not without its hazards. Her eye condition is caused by the flaking of the skin behind the eyelid, which scratches the cornea. This has left her blind in one eye and with only 10% vision in the other.
It's important for her to do it because I think, she's overcome so many things, and this is another thing to, that she's said, blow my sight, I can still do it. I can still get on a bike, and that's why it's really nice that, there's always somebody with her, and this young lad that's biking with her, he's ever so good, and he tells her where all the bumps are and be careful, this sort of thing. So yeah, it's really nice, but it's a bit of a worry.
I used to have a bit of an issue with wanting to be accepted by everyone. I used to get really upset when people would take the mickey out of me at school and be nasty to me. I used to get really, really upset. I would come home and cry and stuff, but I kind of got over it and eventually got to the stage where I just thought, if they like me, they like me. Cheers. Thank you.
I do believe that probably it's going to take somebody very special, but I'm sure she would love to have a boyfriend. She'd probably tell you different.
Do you have a boyfriend?
No, I don't have a boyfriend.
Would you like a boyfriend?
Don't know. If I would like a boyfriend. Don't know.
I hope there is somebody there who can see through the cream and the skin and see the girl underneath. I do think it's going to be a very difficult time for her. I think she does want to go out and clubbing and meeting boys and everything. And I think she's holding herself back.
There's no reason why Lucy shouldn't have a normal relationship and have children. And there's no reason why she shouldn't have normal babies. She would have to meet somebody that's holding the recessive gene to actually have Harlequins herself. There is absolutely no reason why she shouldn't have healthy, normal babies.
It's been 3 months since Hannah Betts went to Great Ormond Street for tests. Today is the day she gets her results.
I'm really nervous about the hospital today.
I'm sure everything will be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It'll be nice to get the results, whatever they are, won't it, so we know what's happening.
I'm hoping that will say my results will be really good.
She's been going on about it for weeks. Now, as soon as May hit, I'm going to get my results this month, I'm going to get my results this month, and so it's been paramount on her mind.
She's a natural warrior anyway. Yeah. She always worries every little thing.
We keep telling her she'll be fine, and I think it'll be just nice to get it over and done with now, particularly for Hannah.
Hannah's consultant from Great Ormond Street, Dr. Lindley, has travelled to their local hospital for a clinic. And he has some surprising news.
You want some answers from me, don't you?
It would be very nice, yes.
There are easy answers and there are less easy answers.
Right.
All those tests of absorption we did were actually all quite normal.
Right.
But she's actually leaking much more magnesium from her kidneys.
Oh, right.
It's easy to treat, if that's all it is. Absolutely easy to treat. It couldn't be easier.
There you go.
The other thing we turned up, which is fascinating, might actually explain the growth problem. In that for growth hormone to work, it has to bind a protein in the blood. And for some reason, that protein is missing. And no one's ever come across anyone with that.
Oh, come on.
With one exception.
Excuse me, have we not got enough rare here? So we might see her growing?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah,
cool.
we can stretch you.
That'd be really strange. I'd have to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe of clothes.
Yeah.
I'll send you a copy of my letter, which goes
To hear your daughter that's incredibly rare anyway, has got something that's even rarer,
It's even rarer.
is, you know, quite a lot to take on board. But there you go.
Hannah.
I'll be big.
Like that. Whoa!
There's something to celebrate in the Bowen household too. It's Lara's first birthday today. But despite the excitement, there's no let-up in the skincare routine.
That cheek's still soft.
Are you excited?
Oh, yes, wonderful.
I am.
Right, that's you. Just what Laura. Wonder what's going on, I think. Aren't you? Hey?
Getting Lara to the age of 1 without having to go back into hospital since the birth is a major milestone. There's always the initial fear that they're not going to survive because they are extremely prone to picking up infections. Keeping both girls fully lathered up with cream really is key to their health.
It'd be nice just to get them dressed in their party stuff and let them enjoy the day. But obviously, we've got to be cream, so we try and make it as easy as possible for them. Daddy downstairs. Granddad's down there. Yay! You smelly girl. Go on then, Dana. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Laura. Happy birthday to you. You gonna blow it out for him?
In the last 12 months, there have been many milestones in the Harlequin sisters' lives. But most important of all, the 4 girls have been involved in a worldwide research project. Last year, they provided DNA samples for analysis, and now the results are to be released. 8 years on, Dana meets Hannah and Lucy again.
This morning I was looking forward to see them too, because we haven't seen them for a long while.
It was really nice to see her and see that she's doing well as well, see they're all doing really well.
I feel excited and interested. And I watched Dana get creamed as well. I pull it all over and it was the same but different cream. Got a crack there. I think it's where I done roly-polies yesterday on the floor.
And welcome to the Institute of Cell and Molecular
The research programme is being led by Professor David Kelsall of London University. And the news he has for the families is better than any of them could have hoped.
The breakthrough came about 8 or 9 months ago with a new piece of DNA technology called a gene chip. We've been working on this for people have been working on it for 10 or 20 years. And then suddenly, with this technology, we had the result in 2 or 3 days. It's very exciting.
So that identifies the Harlequin gene?
Yes. At the moment, I can see 2 possible areas of improved therapy. One is gene therapy. I would not hold my breath about gene therapy.
So we're looking longer term.
Longer term. But the other possibility is to actually work out which factor of the protein is actually involved in transporting from within the cell to outside. And if we can do that, I see no reason why those fats could not be added to your creams.
So effectively that would cut down the skin problem, or help
I would thought it would alleviate it, yeah.
What's that?
It might mean that they'll be able to find something to add to your cream that hopefully will mean that your skin will improve.
You good?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Will my skin turn like that ever again?
I'm not sure it'll turn exactly like that. It might get pretty close to looking like that.
Wow.
But it's taken us a long time to get this far, and the fact that we know that exactly that it's just one defective protein in all the children with Harlequin means that, you know, we're all sort of singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of understanding the therapies.
Being told that there could be something out there that might make things easier for the girls makes the last 18 years even more worthwhile to think that maybe their lives might be more normal than we could ever have expected. And so it just sort of, I don't know, it's the icing on the cake, I suppose.
I can't say anything, excuse me. Just getting a bit emotional, that's all I can say.
It's just amazing. Obviously, it's still early days, but it's fantastic.
Finding out how quickly they discovered the gene, how technology's moving on, what the possibilities are, meeting up with Jan, Clive and the girls again. Yeah, it's brilliant.
All than it should be, so it can't...
The professor has one more surprise for them.
Now, as you know, we've looked at your DNA, and I can say you've actually got a mutation in common. No. But what this means is that you came from the same geographic area, some point way, way back, generations and generations back. So there is, so you're not closely related, but very distantly related.
Great-great-great-granddad had a bike.
Something like that. Something like that, yeah.
Oh, sorry, don't get a hug.
It's been an extraordinary day for both families. Although a complete cure is a long way off, there's real hope that within the next couple of years, a supplement could be added to their cream that would improve their skin. But it's all dependent on funding. It's the eve of Lucy's 18th birthday. She is the oldest Harlequin survivor in Britain, and she's entering unknown territory. Less than a handful of known sufferers have lived this long.
It's weird being one of the oldest, because you don't know where it's going to go. Like when I got an infection on my skin before, no one knew what it was, and I had to have loads of tests and stuff and different things on my skin to try and work out what it was. And it was only a normal infection that other people get. When something new happens, they test me and they take photographs for like medical things, and it's really annoying. I just want to be able to go to doctors and them tell me what's wrong with me.
Lucy's birthday, and we're having a buffet to celebrate, and I'm excited. She's always my best friend, and I love her.
The more I think about it, the more emotional I tend to become, because the last couple of days I really have been very emotional. I keep thinking of the day she was born. I mean, we didn't think she'd survive at all. She fought so hard, didn't she, right from the word go. She'd come into this world and there was no way she was going to do anything but stay. Show Hannah what it is.
Oh yeah, I saw that last night. I didn't know it was from me as well.
You used to get the key to the door when you were 21, but you're coming of age at 18 now.
Wow.
Oh, thank you, Hannah.
I knew you wanted that. Actually, Mum told me.
Oh no!
Oh yes, you've got to wear that.
I'm proud of her. Yeah, I'm very proud of her. You good, babe?
Now Lucy's 18, she can legally go to the pub. Her dad takes her out for her first drink.
I remember when Lucy was about a year or so old, and one of the doctors said, "Did we do the right thing?" And I said, "Look at her. You can't turn around and say we didn't." And as far as I was concerned, as long as they'd got a good quality of life, that was the most important thing.
Happy birthday, darling. Happy birthday, baby.
Lucy nearly finished a college course. She's got a good quality of life. Yes, it's hard for them. At times it must be very difficult. But yeah, life's for living and they live it. Go and put some cream on and come and open the prezzies, yeah?
With Hannah and Lucy reaching teenage years, it does help think that, our girls are going to make it to that age, because obviously quite a few of the children haven't survived, so getting to that stage is a big plus.
That one's Mary and that one's Jack.
That's it, see, you could remember. Here are some keepsakes from my favourite ball.
Necklace.
Dana's who she is because of what she's got. If I could change her skin, brilliant. But if I could change her skin without changing how she is, that's the way I'd have it.
Cuddle. Good night. Okay. Sweet dreams.
Lucy.
Yeah.
Have a kiss.
Night.
Night.
See you in the morning.
See you in the morning. Oh, my pen.
Right, Dom.
No.
Love you.
I love
Sleep
you.
tight. See you at Queen time, yeah?
See you at Queen time.
Alright, Dom. Love you.
Love you too.
Sleep tight. Lights out.
Sleep tight.
Good night.